The Pacific Ocean is bigger than we can even imagine. Seriously, if you could drill a hole straight through the Earth from the coast of Chile, you'd come out on the other side and still be in the Pacific Ocean. When we learn about the world, we hear about the 5 great oceans. The Pacific is the king of them all, covering a massive 165 million square kilometers. To put that into perspective, the total land area of our entire planet is only about 148 million square kilometers. This means that even if you ignore the other 4 oceans, the Pacific alone is larger than all the mountains, deserts, forests, and islands on Earth combined. Within this vast expanse of water, the only land you'll find are tiny islands, appearing like mere specks against the endless blue. Most of the Pacific remains untouched by human hands. So, if someone gets lost out here, the chances of being found are almost zero. But today, I am going to tell you the incredible true story of a man who got lost in the Pacific Ocean. Not for 10 or 15 days, but for a staggering 438 days. Yes, this man accidentally set a world record for the longest time spent alone at sea, surviving on a tiny 7-foot boat. The big question is, how did he manage to stay alive for 14 months in the open ocean? First, let's understand why he was out there in the first place. On November 17, 2012, a 36-year-old experienced fisherman named Jose Salvador Alvarenga set off from a small village called Costa del Sol in Mexico. He wasn't alone. He had a companion with him for what was supposed to be a routine fishing trip. Their plan was simple: spend just 30 hours at sea. Because the trip was so short, they packed light. Their 7-foot boat carried a cooler for the fish they'd planned to catch, and only enough food and water for a single day. They motored out about 120 kilometers from the coast and began setting their fishing nets. Suddenly, without warning, a violent storm descended upon them. The winds howled and the waves crashed over their small vessel. To save their lives, they had to make a tough choice. They cut their nets loose and turned the boat around, fighting their way back towards the shore. The storm raged for 6 long hours. By the time morning broke, they were exhausted, but relieved to see they were only about 20 kilometers from the coast. But then their luck ran out. The boat's engine sputtered and died. They were adrift, with no way to steer or navigate. Their only radio, which they used to try and send their location to their boss, ran out of battery. Now, they were truly at the mercy of the ocean. Strong winds began pushing them further and further out to sea. Over the next 5 days, the currents carried Jose and his companion a terrifying 450 kilometers away from land. They were trapped in a part of the ocean where, in every direction they looked, there was nothing but water. Their meager supply of food and water was gone. Desperation set in, but the will to live is a powerful force. They had to get creative to survive. They started catching seabirds that would occasionally land on their boat, eating the raw meat. They caught fish with their bare hands and turtles that swam by. For hydration, they collected rainwater in empty plastic bottles whenever a storm passed. But when there was no rain, they had to resort to drinking the blood of the fish they caught. It was a grim existence, but it was keeping them alive. As days bled into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The mental strain became almost unbearable. Imagine the psychological toll of being stranded in the middle of nowhere, with no hope of rescue in sight. The constant uncertainty, the hunger, the thirst, it was a living nightmare. Eventually, the immense suffering became too much for Jose's companion. Tragically, he lost all hope and passed away, leaving Jose completely alone. Now, Jose was all by himself on a tiny boat, in what is considered the world's quietest and most remote part of the Pacific Ocean. Cargo ships rarely passed through this desolate stretch of water. 6 months had already gone by. Jose battled with his own mind, fighting off despair and loneliness, but he continued to survive, day by day. Then, one afternoon, he saw something on the horizon, a cargo ship. For the first time in half a year, a flicker of hope ignited within him. He signaled desperately, waving his arms, shouting with all his might. But his boat was just a tiny speck in the vast ocean. The massive ship didn't see him. It sailed on, disappearing over the horizon, and with it, his hope sank once more, leaving him utterly devastated and alone. He continued to drift, his body wasting away, his mind teetering on the edge. The sun and moon became his only companions, marking the endless passage of time. Then, in January 2014, after 14 long months at sea and having drifted an astonishing 8,000 kilometers, he saw something floating in the water. Coconuts. He knew coconuts meant land was nearby. With a final surge of strength, he managed to guide his battered boat towards the shore. He had reached a small, remote island called Ibon Atoll, part of the Marshall Islands, thousands of kilometers from where his journey began. For the first time in 438 days, Jose Salvador Alvarenga made contact with another human being. When he finally returned home, his story of survival was so unbelievable that many people didn't believe him at first. He eventually published a book detailing his harrowing experience. Sadly, his ordeal wasn't over. The family of his deceased companion filed a legal case against him, blaming him for the tragedy, despite all the struggles, both at sea and on land. Jose's story remains a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the incredible will to survive against all odds. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, please give this video a like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing content like this. Thanks for watching.